Is Britney Spears telling the truth in her recent voice memo? You're about to find out in this new video from Never a Truer Word, where we analyse the words that people choose to use to find out what they're really saying, what they're really thinking, and if they're being truthful or deceptive. Once again, I'll get it out there. I'll be upfront with it. I don't know very much about Britney Spears' current situation whatsoever. And I kind of like that because it means I can go into it and not be biased or have preconceptions about it. But I do think, or I do know, she released a voice memo recently, which she quickly withdrew, but not before it was widely circulated. The full video is 22 minutes long, or the voice memo is 22 minutes long, which would take a 3-hour video for me to analyse every single word in that, and I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at the first 2 minutes. In the first 2 minutes, Britney Spears explains why she's talking out, why she's chose to share what she shared in the voice memo. We're going to look for markers of deception in the words that she uses, and also markers of truth. Generally, truthful people, they're going to be really straightforward when they talk. I'll point these out as we go along. If you're interested in the processes that we use, or you want to upskill yourself in learning more about how to get behind the words that people use, anything from in relationships to if you're a true crime fan, then there's a couple of books available for you on Amazon. And the whole process is based on analysing and using millions of words and the work, studying the work of others as well. So if you want to get those books, they could be life-changing for you. Let's look at what Britney said. Oh, there's a link to buy them in the description below, by the way. Okay, Britney time. She starts off her voice memo by saying, okay, so I woke up this morning and I realised that there's a lot going on in my head that I haven't really shared with anyone, really. And I've had tons of opportunities, Oprah interviews, to go on a platform and share hardships or just anything really anything that's going on in my mind. And I really don't think any of that is relevant to getting paid to tell your story. I feel like it's kind of silly, so I'm here, honestly, just to open myself up to others and try to shed a light on it if anyone out there has ever gone through hardships or whatever it is, just to put a light on it. And so that person doesn't feel alone, because I really know what that feels like. Okay, so what's she saying there? The most important thing, the first thing we say is usually the priority for us to get out there. In Britney's case, it's 2 words. Okay, so. This is an indication that she's going to tell us a story. She's going to explain her reasoning and her explanation for doing something. That doesn't mean it's a deceptive story, by the way. It doesn't mean she's lying here. It just is an indication that she's going to scene set here. And that continues with, so I woke up this morning and I realised. So this is the next most important thing for her to get across. I woke up this morning and I realised. She's letting us in on her thought process using those words. And I realised. And she's trying to make it look like this is a spur of the moment thing, this decision to share this voice memo. But then she does spend 2 minutes explaining the thought process behind it, what stopped her doing this in the past, and why she's sharing this now. So it's not as spur of the moment as she wants us to believe, but it's really important for us to think this is spur of the moment and spontaneous, because it's the very first thing that she mentions. Is she being deceptive there? Yeah. Is she being malicious? No, she's not. This is just what is important to her. Notice that she says in the second line, I haven't really shared with anyone really. She's talking about what she's about to say. I haven't really shared with anyone really. 2 uses of the word really there. And when we say I haven't really done something, what we mean is I have done something. Maybe just not to my full satisfaction or not to any scale or size, but I haven't really does mean I have. So she shared this before with someone, but that, again, perfectly natural. It's slightly deceptive language, but Britney's a show person. She's lived a life in show business, so she's probably wanting to add a little bit of drama to this. But she has really shared it with people before, maybe just those close to her. She brings up hardships a couple of times to share hardships, and then she talks about people having gone through hardships. But she's very casual with those mentions of hardship. They're low down on her list of priorities compared to some other things. So this is not about please feel sorry for me or please feel pity for me in any way whatsoever. She does acknowledge there are hardships, but priority-wise, talking about what a hard time she's had is not there for her. when she talks about her reasons for sharing the story, she says, I'm here, honestly, just to open myself to others. There's two of my trigger words in this sentence, honestly and just. Generally, people, when they're being honest with us, don't feel the need to tell us they're being honest. They just tell their truth. They don't need to flag, I'm being honest here. And Britney does that with the word honestly, and also the word just to open myself to others. When we use just like that, it can be deceptive. There's maybe using just to hide more than one reason that is behind the reason for sharing this. We use just to make the reason sound very small, and this is the only reason, this is the only thing there, but there's probably a bit more behind it. And I think I know what that is, because after she's used those two trigger words, Britney goes on to say she's doing this for the benefit of other people. She's not doing this for the benefit of herself, but she's doing this to help other people who are going through hardships and shining a light on that. And I notice this a lot of the time in deceptive words, that people, when they're telling a story, will say that they're doing it for the greater good. They'll say they're doing they're sharing this story for the benefit of other people, when the reality is they just don't want to appear selfish and self-centered. A great example of this is, people who post on social media when they think they've had poor service or a poor product from a company, and they share the story on social media and they say they're doing it to raise awareness, to make others aware, not to fall into the same trap or buy the same rubbish that they did, when reality is they're just personally after a bit of compensation. But instead of saying that, instead of being honest with that, they say, I'm not doing this for my own good, I'm doing this for the good of others. And I think that is what Britney is doing there. But again, does she mind that it will help other people? No. Would she be happy if it helped other people? Yes, but I don't think doing it just so that other people who are going through a hard time can identify with her story, I don't think that is what is going on with Britney here solely. Now, look at the amount of times she uses I and my's personal pronouns in this. She's really taking ownership of this story by using the words I and my. She's really joining herself to this story. She's making herself part of this story. That's a real indication that someone is being truthful and someone is speaking from the heart. It's often quite hard to spot because I, my, such small everyday words, but the use of them is a great indicator of someone being very truthful. I'm going to take all the personal pronouns out, or most of the personal pronouns out, so you can see what it would be like without them. I'm going to read it. Just listen to the distance that is in the words compared to the words that Britney has actually used. If she'd said, okay, so woke up this morning and realised that there's a lot going on in my head that hasn't really been shared with anyone really, and there's tons of opportunities, Oprah interviews, to go on a platform and share hardships and or just anything that's going on, and don't think any of that is relevant to I'm getting paid to tell your story. It's kind of silly, so it's here. Honestly, just to open it up to others and to try to shed a light on if anyone out there has ever gone through hardships or whatever it is, just to put a light on it so that person doesn't feel alone, because I really know what that feels like. When I take all those pronouns out, it's generic. There's distance between the words and the person saying them. There's much less ownership of the thoughts and concepts in the words. So I really like the fact that Britney's used a lot of I and my there. It really does speak to the truthfulness of it for me. Keep an eye on the personal pronouns as we look at the next set of words from Britney. I haven't honestly shared this openly too as well, because I've always been scared of the judgment and definitely the embarrassment of the whole thing, period, and the skepticism and the cynical people and their opinions of what people would actually think. I do think I'm in a place now where I'm a little bit more confident that I can be willing to share openly my thoughts and what I've been through, because I haven't really had the outlet to share completely openly for so long. Just scared of judgments, thoughts of other people, and what they think or what they may say. And I think it's crucial for my heart and my head to be able to speak openly about it as if anyone else would. Lots of uses of I and my again there from Britney. So I really like this, and it's mostly straightforward. She hasn't added in any words to persuade us of how she feels. That's again another thing that honest people do. They just relate the facts to you. They tell you what's been going on or how they're feeling. They don't put in needless words to turn up the severity of the feelings or minimize their actions. They just tell it straight. I'll give you an example of this. So here's some words that Britney used. I've always been scared of the judgment and definitely the embarrassment of the whole thing, period, and the skepticism and the cynical people. Now, imagine she put in words that would try and persuade us that this is true, because that's what people do. If they're not telling the truth, they tend to add in some words to turn up the volume to 11. If she'd said, I've always been massively scared of the horrible judgment and definitely the complete embarrassment of the whole thing, period, and the nasty skepticism and the totally cynical people. That is how a deceptive person would talk. That is how someone who really wants you to believe how horrible it's been, they would have added words in to convince you that they're telling the truth. But Britney, no. I've always been scared of the judgment and definitely the embarrassment of the whole thing, period, and the skepticism and the cynical people. Just another couple of things on this one. Excuse me. You can see that she says, where does she say? I haven't really had that outlet. Again, I haven't really had that outlet. When someone hasn't really done something, they have. And this is on the same subject as she did haven't really before. She has had the outlet. She just hasn't used it to this size or this scale again at all. And look at the very end, we've got a reason this time for talking out. It's a completely different one to the first one she gave. It's about something that is right for Britney. I think it's crucial for my heart and my head to be able to speak openly about it as if anyone else would. It's a personal reason. It's a self-centered reason. It's what's right for her heart and her head. And there is nothing wrong with that. And this is much more straightforward and more believable than the other reason about doing it to help other people. So is Britney Spears being honest here? It's mostly a yes from me. Yeah, she's a little deceptive from times, especially about it being spur of the moment and some of her reasons for doing it, but I'm not seeing constant markers of deception. In fact, I had to add some in to make you see what it would look like if it was being deceptive, and I don't have to do that a lot when I'm analysing people's words. She owns it with those personal pronouns, and as we've seen, she's straightforward. In terms of how she feels and why she hasn't spoken about it before, what's going on in her head, it is really straightforward and truthful. I like that, and it's really good to see. If you got something out of this video, please press the like button, would you? It will help other people find the video. It will make me feel good as well. I'll get a notification and it'll put a smile on my face. If you want to get more videos like this on the words that people use and the meanings behind them, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll get a notification when we post a new video. That would be great. Neveratruerword.com is the website where you find links to the books that I spoke about earlier. You'll also find more posts on true crime and people in the news and the words that they use. And the link tree that's on the screen in front of you and is in the descriptions as well, then you can use that to join up on the socials. What words should we look at next? Is there anyone's words that you'd like to have analysed to see if they're being truthful or deceptive, or to find out what's going on in their head? Drop them in the comments to this, or get in touch on the socials and make your suggestions. And it could be your words or your suggestions of words that we look at next time on Never a Truer Word.